So this week, the Human Springs are going to be working on fronts. And this is the second time around for this session that they've done fronts. So what we want to talk about a little bit more in depth this time around with our weekly brief is the somersaulting action, because hopefully more and more of the kids are going to be working on that. We should have, certainly at the pools that I've been at, we're seeing a lot of front flips, front 1.5s, even some front doubles from a lot of our Human Springs kids. Let's talk about what kinds of things we can do to help them to spin faster and to spin more safely and to continue to improve their skills. Number one, any throw, any effort that the kids are making to spin needs to occur after they've completed a balanced hurdle. So they're hurdling to the end of the board, they land on the end of the board, their arms circle all the way back up to 12 o'clock while the board is going all the way down. So by the time the board is fully depressed, the arms are all the way overhead at a 12 o'clock position. At that point, once the arms are overhead and the board's all the way down, now we can talk about how we're going to spin. The spin is generated, which the technical term would be angular momentum. Angular momentum is determined while the diver is pushing off of the board. That's the only time that we can develop spin. So as the board is recoiling, the diver needs to push and throw simultaneously as they're coming off the board in order to develop spin. Now, there are some things about that throw that we can change to help the diver spin faster. Number one, they need to throw with straight, long arms. I find divers have an easier time if their palms are facing forward when they throw. It's a little easier to keep their elbows straight. If they're throwing with the edge of their hand, like a karate chop, they have a tendency to bend their elbows, pull in, and throw like a praying mantis. So we try to get them palms forward. The first element of the throw is going to go up, then out, and then down. So they can watch, and because we've been talking to them a lot about keeping their head still, hopefully, and watching a fixed point out in front of them, typically the lane rope, that first lane rope out in front of them as they're leaving the board, they can watch that spot and see their arms go down in front of them, long straight arms throwing down in front of them, and that's going to help them a great deal with knowing where they are in space and being able to find vertical. But long straight arms. Now, the faster those long straight arms throw while they're pushing against the board, the more angular momentum they'll generate as well. So long straight arms, fast arms throwing up, out, and down. Then once they've left the board, they got to get into a small tuck. They're not going to develop any new somersaulting momentum, but once they've come off of the board with that set amount of somersaulting momentum, they can be efficient with it by getting very small in the tuck. The smaller the tuck is, the lower the moment of inertia or resistance to rotation. So they're able to do more with the throw that they've developed, the spin that they've developed, if they're nice and small in that tuck. So have them grab the middle of their shins, pull in tight so their heels are close to their rear end and their thighs are in against their chest. Nice and compact. You want the head neutral relative to the chest so that they're not flapping back. You know, we see a lot of kids who are in the tuck and they're looking straight up, right? We don't want that. Neutral. You don't want them to bury their head or they'll get completely lost either. So it's right in the middle. Now, why do they want their head neutral? Part of it is because it's easier to see that way, and we do want to encourage the kids to keep their eyes open and look for the lane rope again as they come around and finish their flip. So they're leaving the board, they're looking at the lane rope. They get into the tuck, they spin over, they're looking out across all the lane ropes in the pool, seeing that, and that gives them a sense of where they are in space. Not everybody has an amazing kinesthetic spatial awareness. We can add to it, we can improve on it with visual spotting. So we encourage the kids to always dive with their eyes open, see the lane rope, do a somersault, see the lane rope again. Then when they go on to front 1.5, they can see the lane rope as they leave the board, see the lane rope again as they complete one somersault, and then squeeze and kick their feet up for the 1.5. So that's a very effective way to help the kids to improve. Keep an eye on arm timing, and there's another video that I've linked in the comments talking about arm timing, which will help a lot. As they've got good arm timing, their arms are up at 12 o'clock. By the time the board gets all the way down on the end of the board, they're throwing with straight arms, they're throwing fast, and they're getting small in that tuck. They're going to have a great time with these somersaults. They're going to make things easily. If they're using their visual cues by looking at the lane rope as they leave the board, looking at the lane rope when they come back around, they're going to have a much better sense of where they are in space, and they're going to have more success with these dives, more confidence, happier divers, and learning more tricks. So that's the plan. Stick to it. Let's see some somersaulting out there this week. Have a great time, and we'll see you at the pool.